People have reviewed the Earthrise / Kingdom Leader Optimus Prime. I mean, yeah, I'll admit, it's a great figure, but how am I supposed to compete with that? I mean, a lot of people have already did it. I guess I won't be reviewing you anytime soon. Wait, I have the next best thing. Where is it? No, not you! Yeah! Hot Rod! Why are you acting like that? How's it going, guys? It is Plastic Disasta, and today we are going to do the review of the Studio Series Transformers 1986 movie Hot Rod. And in case if you guys don't know what the Studio Series line is, well, basically what it is a line of Transformers figures trying to be more screen accurate, if you say so. It's a cool idea, don't get me wrong, but some of these are kind of a hit and miss for me, but that's only when we're talking about the live action counterparts. But in this case, since we're talking about the G1 stuff like the 1986 movie, I was not totally expecting that. And not only I got my hands on Hot Rod, but I also got my hands on Jazz. And if you want me to review Jazz, please let me know in the comments below. Speaking of the live action stuff, I also got my hands on the Studio Series Starscream from the Bumblebee movie. I am going to review it, but I have something special with him. And let me get this figure out of the way, and let's talk about the young Autobot himself, Hot Rod. To give a little backstory of what Hot Rod is, he is the main protagonist of the 1986 film Transformers the movie. And this is a spoiler warning. He is the reason why... Actually, let me just put him aside. He's the one who caused Optimus Prime's death in the beginning of the film. And in the end of the film, he became the next Prime, and he changed his name to Rodimus Prime until the fans gave some serious backlash. But in the aftermath of the movie, Optimus Prime did came back. So yes, something good did came out of it, and can you stop crying for God's sake? Okay, so before I start talking about the figure, if you haven't noticed, on my Transformers Beast Wars reviews, usually I like to talk about the packaging first. So taking a look at the front of the packaging here, it says Transformers twice to remind you what the franchise is, and we also have the nice line art of Hot Rod, Light Our Darkest Hour. And if you look closely, he is the fourth one in the line, specifically for the 1986 Studio Series film. Taking a look at this side of the box, we saw the familiar 86 Studio Series to remind you what it is, a close-up face of Hot Rod, and right down there it says he is a Voyager class. And funny story, when I bought him, I thought he would be a little cheaper because I assumed that he's a deluxe class. I will show you in a size comparison later because I thought he was a deluxe class, but it turns out he was sold as a Voyager class. Taking a look at this side of the box, we already saw a familiar line art, but this time it's in a full body shot. The back of the box, it shows that he transforms into 29 steps, going to robot mode, to vehicle mode, or vice versa. And if you look right here, it shows that he comes with a backdrop, which I will explain in the accessories. And now, the moment we've been waiting for, the figure. The design and sculpting of Hot Rod is actually pretty great. And hell, I should even say it's actually animation accurate. This if we're talking about on-screen versus the figure. But let me just nitpick for a moment. The big yellow spoiler on his back, I find that one to be a little too big. I think it should be like probably like a millimeter or two smaller, then it wouldn't bother me. I mean, the big spoiler doesn't bother me at all. It's just that it's just a little distracting for me, for my personal taste. And speaking of the spoiler, yes, it actually does have some nice detail. And if you guys are Gundam model kit builders, you can actually go ahead and drop a little panel line if you want to. Not just a little, but quite a lot. He does have really nice surface detail, and I can see people would detail the hell out of this figure. Okay, so enough about the details. What about the painting? The painting on the figure is actually really great. To show you what areas are painted, that will be the orange on the forearms, and I believe the silver right here is painted, and this part right here of the torso. And I just noticed that there is a bit of paint chipping right over there. Let me just bring the light down. Yep, right over there. I mean, it doesn't like bother me at all. I mean, If you can find a way to fix it, please let me know in the comments below. Or maybe I could just drop a little paint of it and just call it a day. And those silver bits on the shoulders and on the forehead, that's actually pretty well done. And taking a look at the backpack, yeah, I had to spoil the transformation a little bit, but the orange and the red on the clear blue plastic, the paint on that is actually really nice. Since we're on the backpack, take a look at that kibble management. My goodness, it's actually handled really well for a Voyager class. And what's even better is that I heard the kibble management is actually better than the Masterpiece figure of Hot Rod. And if you haven't heard what the Masterpiece Transformers figure are, well, I'm not going to go into detail right here. I encourage you guys to look it up. Oh, and when you look at that, the silver on the rims is actually painted as well. And I know what you're asking. Can this figure get any better? Well, yeah, it does. And what's everyone's favorite thing about figures? The gimmicks. First gimmick I want to show you is on the head. Pop the cap off, and it reveals visors, which you can fold down, close the cap back down, and there you go. We just went from Hot Rod to the cooler Hot Rod. Is that meme still relevant? So the next gimmick I want to show you would be the arms. Starting with the right arm first. First, you untap this part, rotate that, which shows, I think it was like some sort of like soldering tool, which he did to repair Cup in the Transformers movie. And as for the other arm, you're going to do the same thing, but instead it reveals a peg. Now, what's the peg for, you might ask? Well, that will lead us to the accessories. The one and only accessories you're going to use to plug in that peg is this saw blade. Well, that looks more like a pizza cutter. And get this, it rotates. And to plug it in, well, it's just as easy as 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. Next accessory you get are his two guns. Nice paint of silver, but what kind of ruins it are the red pegs. Personally, for me, that doesn't bother me at all, but if you are going to paint the handles silver and you're going to plug the handle in, you're going to risk paint chipping. If you want to store the guns, you see these like side pegs right there? You plug them into this hole right over there. Either or works as long as they look or stored like this. Can I also point out the design of the gun actually looks really nice? Next, we have the Matrix of Leadership. And I know what you're asking. Wait, doesn't the Matrix of Leadership light up? Well, yeah, because it also comes with an effect part. Plugging this in is pretty self-explanatory, so you can recreate the scene of Hot Rod becoming the next Prime. Last but not least, we have these blue flame effect parts. Now, they go on these exhaust pipes on the wrist right there, but they have to go in a very specific way. To plug them in is just like this, and now he looks like he's shooting out of his exhaust pipes, which he also did in the movie, but it's not blue, it is yellow. I think what I said did not come out right. I meant wrist guns. And to quote Optimus Prime from the 2007 live-action Transformers movie, my bad, the blue flame effect parts are not the last accessory. The last accessory would be this backdrop. And this backdrop, or actually the backdrop in general, comes with every Studio Series Transformers figure, and they're all different from each other. What's so cool about them is that you actually use these as displays, and that's really neat. Looking around the backdrop, I just put Hot Rod aside. So right here is actually the spoiler alert. This is the background of the final battle in the Transformers movie when they're inside Unicron. And in case you're wondering where to store the saw blade, well, here's where you store them. It looks kind of weird to be honest, but hey, something is better than nothing. Okay, so let's get the accessories out and let's move on to the articulation. The head is going to be on a ball joint. The arm can rotate, move out that far. Elbow swivel, bend a little more than 90 degrees, which is actually pretty good. And you also have a wrist swivel, and the fingers can open up. Swivel on the waist, the leg can move out that far, move back that far, can reach out that far so you can do the split. Swivel on the thigh, the knee bends a little more than 90 degrees, well actually way more, so that's really great. The knee can bend a bit of the opposite way, which makes it look like he has a broken knee, which what Optimus Prime would like because Hot Rod ruined the moment for him, but it's also part of the transformation, I believe. The foot can move up that far, move back that far, and you also get a bit of a pivot. Overall, the articulation is actually pretty good. It's just that the feet could have been done better. I mean, hell, he can actually recreate the pose from the Transformers movie poster. But anyways, let's move on to the size comparison. So here is Hot Rod right next to the 1/144 scale of the Gundam, to the Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime, and the Flame Toys IDW Full-Red model Optimus Prime, and I don't know why they're giving Hot Rod the mean look. And here he is right next to the NECA 1994 Godzilla. If he was sold as a non-transforming figure, I would say I highly recommend him, but the fun doesn't end here. So Hot Rod, transform. First, you want to untab this and rotate it. Bring this down even further so it can make room for this. Turn the figure around, bring the arms up, and that also brings this out. Going from here, you might want to untab that. Turn the head 180 degrees and push this down. So I also forgot to mention that you might want to twist this around so you can bring it down like this, but before you have to bring these tabs out. Plug these yellow tabs down, align the arms with these red tabs, just like so, and you're going to do the same for the other side, just like that, and you can bring this down. Before we bring the spoiler down, make sure these tabs right here are plugged into these ports right down there so you can line them up properly, just like so. Untap this, rotate it, and bring it down to cover the hands, and you're going to do the same for the other side. Pretty clever. For the legs, you might want to fold all this out, just like that. Bring the foot in, rotate the waist. You're going to do that knee bend, make sure it's nice and tucked. Fold this down and line up, just like so. Like that. Okay, this is actually better. And one last step, you're gonna bring the spoiler down and make sure everything is lined up correctly. And here we have the vehicle mode. And from my experience, when I first transformed this figure, it was really, I wouldn't say difficult, but maybe frustrating in some areas. But once you've transformed him enough, you'll find that it's very satisfying. As for the design and the sculpting of this car, well, I had no idea what kind of car it is, so I'm going to call it a futuristic car, quote unquote. I do like the sleek look. Everything fits perfectly together, and we also get like more paint apps like on the orange right over here on the front bumper. Sadly enough, no silver on the rear tires. The way how the spoiler look on the vehicle mode, yeah, I still wish it's a bit smaller. Other than that, it's a really nice vehicle mode, though it looks like it's flat as a pancake. And you know what's also cool? The accessories I showed you, yeah, you can still store them, but only certain ones. For the buzzsaw, the two guns, and the flame accessories. The flame effects is pretty self-explanatory. Plug them in the right way, and it looks like it's whooshing across the road. As for the guns, you can either store them right here like in the robot mode, or you can store them right here. Even though it looks kind of weird, but I still prefer storing them like that. Here it is stored in the front in case you guys are curious. Before I move on to the size comparison and the final conclusion, let's talk about how the keyboard was managed. Now, the front and the side and the top view of the vehicle mode actually looks pretty good. Now, from the side of, or not the side, the back of the vehicle mode, yeah, you can tell that's actually the robot mode or the knees of the robot mode. I mean, sure, it is a little unsettling, but that shouldn't really bother you. But taking a look at the bottom, yeah, you're not going to display the vehicle like this. But other than that, it's the way how they manage it is actually pretty good. Alright, size comparison. Here he is right next to the 1/144th Gundam, Kingdom / Earthrise Optimus Prime in the truck mode, and the full ride model, which does not transform into a vehicle, and Godzilla. I'm going to transform Hot Rod back to his robot mode and move on to my final thoughts. Okay, so here are my final thoughts. It's a really great figure. Even if you're a Hot Rod hater or if you're a fan of the G1 Transformers, I still recommend it. It's actually a really nice modern figure of Hot Rod. He even goes well with the Earthrise, Kingdom, or even Siege Transformers line. And one more thing I forgot to point out, I tried to put the effect part on the Matrix, but for some odd reason, the effect part keeps popping out so easily. I'm not sure it's either my copy or anyone else, but I hope anyone else doesn't have the same issue. So going back what I said that this figure is actually a Voyager price. Well, the thing is, with the amount of accessories you get, I can kind of see why, but to see how big the figure is, let me compare it to a actual deluxe class figure. So here he is right next to Jazz. Now this is a deluxe figure because deluxe figures are more of a smaller scale. A Voyager class would be more on a medium scale. Another example of a Voyager class would be Optimus Primal. The character varies, so I don't know what to say about that. With Optimus Primal out of the way, let me just put RC in, who also appeared in the 1986 film. Yes, she is a little shorter than Hot Rod, but I don't know. Hot Rod still looks like he's more on the deluxe side. I just don't understand why he was sold in the Voyager price. The real question is, are you getting your money's worth? I hate to say this, but that's something you're going to have to find the answer yourself. If you like Hot Rod or if you're a completionist, I say yeah, go for it. If you're not interested, I mean, you can take a pass on it, but like I said, it's up to you. Okay, so that about wraps up the video. If you make it this far, thank you so much for watching. And I know I didn't get the chance to review Optimus Prime earlier, but a lot of people already did it. So anyways, don't forget to leave a comment. And if you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe to Well and like the video. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See, the review wasn't too bad. It's just that you were just... Oh, I should have reviewed that one.